Hello and welcome to That Atheist Show. I'm Preston, that atheist dude.
And I'm Connie, that atheist lady, and thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight we are going to be talking about what the hell is a caucus and how close Bernie Sanders, like the tie between Bernie and Hillary in the Iowa caucus. And then we're also going to talk about human gene editing because that is a thing that just kind of broke today that everybody's pretty interested in.
Yeah, well, I think it was a few days ago actually, but it's a
I just
very
started
interesting
seeing it in my
story.
feed today. So
Well, yeah, I read about it 2 days ago actually when it first was announced,
okay.
and it's a very controversial topic, and I'm not seeing too many people talk about it, but I've been seeing the links pop up explaining what's going on here, and what it is the ethical committee that approves certain types of research has approved research into gene editing, human gene editing. So what they'll be able to do is get an embryo, a human embryo, and they're going to be able to examine the DNA and try to figure out what kind of issues might arise in development of that embryo. And in researching and examining and observing these changes, they're going to figure out how to splice the genes and remove any malicious DNA. If there was a chance that something in that first week of development is going to evolve into a malformation of if it's going to cause some kind of issue during
Issue.
fertility. Yeah, like if somebody's going to give birth and they're going to have issues during that, if they can catch it early, they might be able to adjust and fix whatever that's going to go wrong. But they
Yeah, it
need the
seems like
knowledge
from
first.
what I've read, as far as the fertility clinic side of it, it's they're going to figure out what is the most important aspect for implantation because a lot of cases for women that have fertility problems, it's that the embryos just don't implant into the uterus. So if they can figure out uh what genes play into whether or not an embryo is able to implant, then they can correct those issues.
Right, and so basically, HEFA, let me get what that stands for. I totally forgot. Let's see. Well, HEFA is in the UK, and they've approved this. They've gone over what's going to be entailed in the research, and they've decided that it's something that they want to go through with. So scientists all around the world are very excited. This is the first step into being able to edit the human DNA. I mean, China began doing this recently, I think a year or two ago.
Yeah, last April they tried it, and scientists had an issue with the data that they gathered because they were starting out with uh,
Abnormal embryos.
abnormal embryos, and so they figured that since those embryos were already abnormal to begin with, that doesn't really give us any data that's usable because they don't want to know what happens when you mess around with something that already started out abnormal. They want to know, if
What
it's
could
a
cause it to
typical
become
embryo.
abnormal?
Yeah, what could
That's what
cause
they're
them to
trying to figure
become
out.
abnormal, not once they're already abnormal.
Yeah, and looks like HEFA is Human Fertilization and Embryology Authority. So they're the ones that you go to when you're trying to embark on this type of research. You go and talk to them. They have regulations that they set forth. They've gone over all that's entailed, and they decided in the UK to go through with this research on government
Yes.
regulation.
In the US, the government is not able to fund this sort of research just yet. Uh, but in the UK they are. I mean,
You
we're
can do it in the
always we're
US with
always a little
private
bit
funding.
behind. Yeah, in the US with private funding, but the government cannot fund this research. And I mean, the US is always a little bit behind because of the the pro-life groups that we have here. The the there's a
Politicians.
lot of yeah, the politicians and the pro-life groups that they, represent, they don't want to allow this sort of thing because they feel that it's playing God. So,
Yeah, they always make the argument that
whereas,
we're trying to play God, and if we get too close to the sun, we're gonna burn. Basically, their
exactly,
only argument.
that they don't, but I mean, they don't. What's always confused me about their stance on that is that they don't have a problem with the in vitro fertilization processes that we have in place now. I've
Well,
known
some do.
tons of, some do, yes, but on a like on a typical scale, like the moderates don't typically have an issue with it, whereas a lot of
Fundamentalists do.
moderates would have an issue with this
Well, and
because
also,
of the level of interference with the development of the embryos.
well, another
It's like you
reason
get,
is designer babies. They think that you're going
yeah,
to be able to literally customize your child in your uterus, which I mean, I could see that happening later on if
I can see that becoming a problem, definitely. Like how would we decide
where to end the
where
where the
where
line
that
is.
yeah, where the line is exactly?
But
Because
that is what these organizations are for, like the Human Fertilization and Embryology Authority. They're the ones that are determining, okay, let's only go this far. We're only going to allow research on the embryo within 7 days, but they're not going to allow it to be implanted into a woman. So this is strictly research purposes on DNA. They're not trying to actually create anything yet.
yet, but it could lead in that direction. But right now, it seems they are more trying to figure out how to prevent abnormalities and things of that nature, not how to, make your kid end up with blonde hair and blue eyes. So,
Right. And private
it's
funding could always go into that direction without anybody even knowing. And that could be already happening and we don't even know about it. I mean, we don't
yeah.
know.
I mean, it's definitely been talked about several times.
For
I
years, though.
know even just with like they do this thing where they spin the sperm to make it more likely that whenever you do in vitro fertilization that you're going to have a boy or a girl. I don't know the exact way that works, but something about whenever they spin the sperm in the petri dish thing that like the Y's go one direction and the X's go another direction, and they're more likely to get a boy over a girl or whatever if they
Haven't heard of
use
that.
the sperm for one. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It really is.
Well,
But
I
it
have.
doesn't always work. But people do that already because they want a boy or they want a girl.
Well,
And
I have a quote here from a professor involved in all of this that the ruling by the HEFA. This is said to the Guardian. The ruling by the HEFA is a triumph for common sense. While it is certain that the prospect of gene editing in human embryos raised a series of ethical issues and challenges, the problem has been dealt with in a balanced manner. It is clear that the potential benefits of the work proposed far outweigh the foreseen risks. So, yes, these designer babies are a possibility in the far future, but as of right now, studying these types of abnormalities could help a lot of people. It could help people survive
yeah,
childbirth when they can foresee that this embryo is going to cause this. But this at this point, strictly research. They're using embryos that are not children or anything of
yeah.
that sort.
And I mean, it's for the whole designer baby stuff to happen. That's like a mad scientist scenario,
I mean,
There's
it
not,
could happen, yeah, but
and there's so many things that could happen if
with
there was
everything.
some crazy movie mad scientist messing with stuff. I mean, we can't hold back progress just because some crazy people exist in the world.
Well, it was also the
That's
same argument for stem cells, and look at what
hmm
they have done, so far. Just so far,
yeah,
we're still really doing a lot of research on that stuff, and
which
cloning
the
even.
US is very behind on stem cell research too, for the same reason that people aren't going to be okay with this here also is the religious aspect, that people don't feel like we should be messing with those
Playing
things.
God. Even
Yeah,
though we've
exactly. They
been
don't,
adjusting our own evolution, since the
as
beginning.
long as we've been able to figure out how to do it. Yeah,
As long as we've been
so
able to think, we've been able to adjust our evolution as a species, basically. We went over this with our morality episode of how we socially evolved to where we are now, to where we're not having
Mhm.
as many wars as we had before. We're not having as many diseases as we had before because of medical findings. I
Medical
mean,
advances.
medical
Mhm.
advances that are only achieved through things like
That if
this.
we'd only stuck to, what religion said, we wouldn't have got there at all
Yeah,
because religion
vaccines
was
probably wouldn't have
so
happened.
far off base of how to stay clean and how to stay healthy. Like it was so
Right.
wrong.
Diseases were
Um,
punishments, and they didn't want you to, escape your punishment if you were a bad person. So they were like, "Why are you trying to get a vaccine? You're not supposed to heal yourself, damn it."
yeah, if God wants you to be healthy, then you'll be healthy or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So uh, a lot of people take for granted all of that, and they kind of like the anti-vax crowd. They totally take for granted that the rest of the population
They
is
probably wouldn't
vaccinated.
exist.
Yeah, and that's why they have the luxury of, not getting vaccinated and probably not getting sick. It's because the rest of us are.
hmm
And that's just silly.
Yeah, the whole argument against vaccinations is just based on nothing. We went over this in the first episode of our second season here. It's just based on a lady who was an ex-porn star and decided that she healed her son of autism. Just like
Yeah,
she's not a
it's
scientist at all. she's not
no.
she's not one that's able to make these claims and have them stick, but they've stuck. They've stuck horribly and
It's
they've
not
spread.
based on any level of research. She hasn't done anything. It's all off of,
She's not
I think,
credible.
because anecdotal crap that doesn't have anything to do with
She wrote some
anything.
books and people understood her writing and they were like, "Oh, well, she must be right." No, no, she's not.
No,
Just because she
she's
writes a book doesn't
pretty.
mean
She
she's
must
right.
know what she's talking about. Yeah.
It's
She
ridiculous.
uses words I can understand. So.
Yeah, the whole idea of anti-intellectualism is something that we are very much against because it stunts scientific advancement, which also has very much to do with medical advancement. Science allows us to heal each other, basically, literally. I mean, it's science is so broad. It's such a
Everything.
vast subject that science is involved in everything that we're learning about.
Yeah,
If you're a detective
every aspect of our everyday lives revolves around science.
of
So
some kind, yeah,
it just baffles me that people can be anti-science and think that all that science is out to do is,
make
harm
money.
us.
They
Well,
just care about the money.
they get on their computers and drive to work in their cars and turn on their light switches and use their hair dryers and and eat their food that's,
Everything made by science.
yeah, it's all like this is not the way that we would be living if we hadn't advanced through science. We would still be riding horses around. Actually, we probably wouldn't even be doing that because we wouldn't have figured out how to
The wheel.
tame horses
Or
or
the
make
wheel.
saddles.
I mean, the wheel
Yeah, we
alone, that
wouldn't have
was
the
a,
wheel. We
that
wouldn't
was
have
science.
anything. We'd just be killing our food with sticks.
Right. And that brings us back to the ethical part of it is if we're not allowing ourselves to think bigger, then we're going to be stuck in this Stone Age mentality to where we don't want to change. Like most conservatives, I will say most. Most conservatives want to conserve the past instead of moving on to the future, and that's a problem. That's really a problem. That
Yes.
stunts all kinds of things. So this, from an atheistic perspective, the human gene editing, I think, is a great idea because in the future it could fix a lot of things. It could cure a lot of people. It could help a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
it
still got
definitely
the
it has a lot of potential to do a lot of good.
lot of good.
A lot of good, and as long as the funding goes to it correctly and the right people are working on it, it can definitely do a lot of good. Which right now it's so early on that we don't know what's going to happen,
hmm
so it's exciting to see where it goes. And
Well,
I mean,
one important
we
thing
have
about
to
this,
kind of have to have faith in humanity that if it does get out of hand, that
there'll be whistleblowers at least.
yeah, then it'll get reined back in. I mean, we're usually pretty good at
Science.
calling each other out for being idiots. So, especially within the scientific community, they'll definitely go, "Hey, no, yo, that's stupid. Why are you doing that over there?" So, as long as they're not the crazy mad scientist that's, hiding in a volcano somewhere. But what are the chances of that really happening? I mean, this isn't like a cartoon. So
Well, and the big thing is that because this is being pioneered with government funding and government regulation, just like
mhm.
NASA, they're going to be able to actually do a lot. And then from
Yeah.
that point on, a lot of private and independent studies will enter, and they'll start doing the whole science thing, peer review studies and things like that. And once
Mhm.
they get involved after the government had pioneered it and figured out where they should stand, where they should stop, once the independent private industry comes in, it's just going to explode from there, and then you're going to have all kinds of things being probably healed. We don't know yet. We have no idea yet. It
Mhm.
just started literally like 2 days ago. It was just
Yeah.
approved, so we will definitely be coming back with updates on that. Keep an eye on our page. We'll be posting as much as we can.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. And then so now
Oh
let's
wait, we
talk
haven't even
about.
played the video about it. Let me play the
Oh yeah,
video
let's play that
and show
video,
you
and
guys.
then we'll move on to what the fuck is a caucus.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, stay tuned. I'm going to read it off for the radio listeners. For the first time, the UK has sanctioned a study using a gene editing technology on human embryos. CRISPR is precise and easy to use, and it allows scientists to permanently alter the genes in a human embryo. Scientists will try to edit out bits of the DNA that prevent an embryo from developing properly. After 14 days, the embryos will be destroyed. In the US, federal law prohibits the NIH from funding human embryo-based research using CRISPR. The embryos would not be allowed to survive beyond 14 days under regulation. Alright, so CRISPR is the technology being used to to edit the genes, and that is not allowed in the US through government funding using the NIH science
Mhm.
organization, whatever. I forgot what that stands for.
Private sector could get into it if they
Have the money.
wanted, but nobody has jumped on that just yet.
Yeah. So now let's move on to our next topic. I hope a lot of our fans feel the burn because we are certainly Bernie Sanders supporters. A lot of our news feed is filled with Bernie Sanders support.
I was up until I couldn't stay up anymore last night waiting for all of it to come in.
Yeah.
And I didn't make it.
But
Like I tried to stay excited. I was like, if Bernie gets just like 0.1 over Hillary, I'm gonna go take a shot of that vodka that's in my freezer. You know,
and it was.
then because I'm fucking old now or whatever, I was like
Nodding off.
I fell asleep watching the Young Turks live stream on YouTube. I just passed out. It was like it didn't work. I didn't make it. And then I woke up this morning and found out he was like 0.3 behind. But you know what? Gosh darn it, that is a tie. Especially since O'Malley dropped out. Like, where was
Why was O'Malley even there? He had 0.6 after like the entire day, and it's just like, okay, you need to back off now. Give those votes to Sanders.
He dropped out. I mean, he dropped out. Where would that 0.6 have gone? We don't know. We don't know.
Now, we have to verify though. These are not votes. This is not voting.
Yeah, they're not.
This
votes.
is not even.
It's weird. Play the video, and
We're
then
gonna.
we'll.
We're gonna talk about what a caucus is because everybody's talking about the caucus.
Fuck.
But you know.
The people who went to the caucus didn't even know what the hell was going on.
Well, in this video, you'll see. Here we go.
Counting down to the first of the nation presidential nominating contest, the Iowa caucus now just 5 days away. So, do you know what exactly is a caucus? MSNBC's Jacob Soboroff has a closer look at Iowa's unique way to pick a presidential nominee. He joins me now from there. And good to have your breakdown, even for those of us who do know, Jacob.
Oh man, listen, Francis, it is not voting. Caucusing is not voting. It's extraordinarily complicated. What happens is people from neighborhoods all across the state, in little neighborhoods like this, will show up at places like this, the Adele Family Fun Center, where Hillary Clinton just was, having not a get out the vote event, but a get out the caucus event, because the process here is so complicated, it's so different, that not even Iowans can explain how it works.
A caucus is, let's just say it, kind of a strange way to pick a president. And 13 states and 2 U.S. territories use some form of the caucus system. What is a caucus exactly?
What is a caucus?
Well, it's when they try to get out there and get all of the
to figure out who's going to be the best candidate.
It helps decide. I don't really know, to be honest.
On Iowa's caucus day, election day is more like election hour. At 7 p.m., whether it's at a school, Legion Hall, church, government building, or another location, you have to show up in person at one of 1,681 precincts to participate.
Explain to me, how do you caucus?
You go to the area in your precinct, and then from there you decide which candidate you're going to caucus for.
You kind of go and stand by who you want to support.
You kind of go and stand by who you want to support.
The group.
Because political parties control the primary process, what you do once you're inside the caucus depends on whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. The Republican caucus process is pretty straightforward. You walk in, you write the name of your candidate on a piece of paper, you hand it in, ballots are counted, a winner's announced, and delegates are awarded. If you're a Democrat, caucusing is sort of a game of musical chairs. There's a public pitch to everyone who shows up by a campaign representative for each candidate. Then caucus goers literally break into groups for their candidate or to an area for undecided voters. The percentage each candidate gets is calculated, and a candidate's support is deemed viable if in the vast majority of caucus locations they get 15% support or more. Caucus goers whose candidate doesn't make the cut can realign to another campaign, try to reach viability by recruiting additional supporters, or go to the undecided category and be recruited from there. The process repeats until all remaining candidates are viable. Then, delegates are awarded. Confused? You're not alone. And it's why some say the turnout for the Iowa caucus has historically been so low.
Are you going to caucus, Pat?
No.
Are you going to caucus?
It's probably going to depend on the weather.
How about you? You going to caucus?
Absolutely not.
Francis, if it wasn't all about picking the leader of the free world, if we weren't picking the leader of the free world here, this process may actually be relatively funny. But when you look at it and you hear people like the ones I talked to say things like the weather may prevent them from showing up at a 7 p.m. on a Monday night, you realize this is very, very serious. The all-time high in the Iowa caucus for turnout was 16%. That is 16% in 2008 when President Obama won his first election. Democrats are trying to make the process easier this year by allowing people to caucus remotely, but still, there's a lot of criticism for the caucus process outside of Iowa, while people here still love it.
Yeah, 2 million registered voters there in Iowa, and we always see sometimes an overwhelming amount of those actually don't show up. So hopefully your report will help them do that. They can't use the excuse they don't know what it is. NBC's Jacob Sobroff, thank you. Appreciate it.
So it's basically a pep rally.
Yeah, and see what my main issue with this is since you can't be like anonymous about who you're voting for, there's a lot of peer pressure there that you don't know, like if a husband and a wife go and one of them is the more outspoken and the other one's more passive, the passive one's going to go along with whatever the outspoken one says, just keep peace at home or whatever. But if they could just write it on a piece of paper like the Republicans do, how different would the results have been? Know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but it is still important to point out these aren't votes.
Voting is that nobody knows who you vote for, and so
these aren't votes though.
They don't like the caucus.
Yeah, the caucus though isn't voting though. Like they're even when they're showing up and doing all of this, those aren't counting as votes toward the actual election. They're just literally just talking people into going to vote when the primaries come around.
Yeah, but they put so much weight on it. Like they think
like this Iowa caucus is supposedly to have 43 to 50% chance of predicting the actual election, because in the past they've used causation, I guess, or correlation. They've been like, oh, well this he won the caucus, and then he won the election, so it must be the caucus that pointed it out.
It's usually very clear cut though, which this year it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, I think there was a lot more turnout this year, probably than ever before, just because Bernie Sanders is, rallying people finally. This is probably the most complicated of all.
Because that seems like it's like an all-night ordeal, man. Like,
yeah, literally, and people
who has
every
time
time.
for that?
Well, the thing is, I saw a video where it was a live feed, and they 3 people had left, and the Bernie Sanders people were calling for a recount, and what they would have to do is literally go to each side of the room and count each person standing in that side of the room, and everybody just gasped. They were like, "Ah, we don't want to be here that much longer. We've already been here all day."
I saw a video where a lot of people were saying that, you know, they had to work, so
Yeah.
they couldn't, like, if they could have got a break to just go and vote or whatever,
Well,
they could have
people
gone,
left,
you know, but
and people left the caucus, and when they left the caucus, that
yeah, they lost, like, that
influence,
side lost lost a person.
that
Yeah,
influence, yeah.
so
So, and at least they're not actually votes, I guess. So we'll try to figure out what's going on in the next step in the process before anything big comes up next. But we are both supporters of Bernie Sanders, and it's just amazing what he's done. He went from no name recognition, being called the most unelectable person. He came out of fucking nowhere, and now he's tying with Hillary Clinton, which is the most known name in the entire country. Like, I mean, we had
as far
her
as
husband
anybody
as a
who's running
fucking
right
president.
now,
Yeah, completely. Like, her husband was president already, and everybody knows Hillary Clinton, and she's a woman, so she's got a lot of crazy votes that are literally only voting for her because she's a woman, which is horrible.
Yeah, there's
You
a
just-
lot of
no.
people that are only voting for her because she's a woman, which
Which
is
is
silly.
terrible.
There's people who are like, oh, if you're a feminist, then you have to be voting for Hillary Clinton. And
Which
it's
is
like, no,
dumb.
she's a bitch. And
Yeah, exactly.
she's like, just because she has a vagina doesn't mean that feminists should vote for her. That is silly. Because Bernie Sanders is way more
Feminist
for
also.
women's issues than Hillary Clinton is. Like, Bernie Sanders is more of a feminist than Hillary is.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And, he came out last week saying that he doesn't follow any organized religion, which is awesome. He's not going around blessing everything and
the
thanking God.
biggest, like the most awesome thing is that his average campaign contribution is $27.
Which is
He
amazing.
has done all of this with tons of people supporting him.
Small people.
Just like average people, like us, just wanting so badly to have somebody be president for once that actually will represent them and not
People.
be swayed by big business and by
money.
lobbyists. He doesn't. He won't accept lobbyist money. He doesn't want super PAC money. Like, he's actively rejecting it. He's like, no, keep your damn money. I don't want to win the election that way. And nobody has ever done that.
Yeah,
And
it's important.
and a lot of people say, well, because he's not doing that, he's not going to win. Well, now after the caucus, you can't say that anymore because
He's obviously electable.
He got so close to winning, and he did it without all of that. And a lot of people are wanting to vote for Hillary simply because they're like, yeah, I like Bernie. I think that Bernie is the better candidate, but
He
I
won't
don't
win.
think he can actually win. Well, what do you people say now? What do you think now? Like, can you say that now? No, you can't. You can't claim that he has no chance of winning anymore. So now what is your reason to not vote for him? You don't have a reason to not vote for him anymore.
Yeah, this doesn't exactly foresee what's going to happen with the elections, but it is a good indicator as to how this race is going to play out, because Bernie going from no recognition to full on tie with Hillary Clinton is just based on momentum. It's simply based on grassroots, which is very important. Net neutrality would be still a thing if it wasn't for grassroots organizations going out there and making a difference. And he's taking that same approach, and grassroots through the internet, through social media, through going out on the street. I live in New York City, and I have literally, this is anecdotal, I know, but I've only seen Bernie Sanders out on the streets. I have only seen his supporters. I have not seen one Hillary Clinton table on the side of the road, but I've seen a bunch of Bernie ones. I haven't seen people standing in front of the subway for Hillary Clinton saying, are you registered to vote? Are you ready for a difference? No, only for Bernie Sanders. They have the buttons all over their clothes. I've seen so many crazy people that look homeless, but they have Bernie stuff all over them. I'm just like, damn, he's reaching a lot of people right now. Like, all these people want to change. It's crazy. It's really nuts.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely seriously starting a social revolution, because we need something different to happen in our country. The way that things have been going are not going in a positive direction. And, when Obama ran, he was running for change. And I do believe that Obama really did want to make a lot of change, but he's had so much opposition while he's been in office that he's only been able to accomplish so much.
He's done good stuff though.
He has, but he hasn't been able to
Happened to-
accomplish as much as he wanted,
Right.
and that's no fault of his own. That's because of the, you know, the opposition that he's
The
been
Congress,
against.
well, Congress is fully
Congress.
against him at
Being
every
totally
turn.
against him at every turn. So I do worry that, if Bernie becomes president, that he will run into the same thing. But
Yeah.
I don't think so, because a lot of Republicans are going,
They're feeling the burn.
are getting out of office. Like, they're being replaced by Democrats now.
Oh, well,
or independents.
yes. In the same time as this election cycle, there's going to be reforming of the seats. Like, people are their terms are going to end, and they're going to be voting in new people. So there is a
And a
chance
lot
that
of
will balance
people-
out a little bit more.
Like, not even just Democrats are upset with the way that, Congress hasn't been able to come to any
Even
sort of
Republicans, yeah.
agreement over anything. Even the Republicans are sick of it. And Republicans don't want, they want something to happen. They don't just want their tax money going to pay for these people to sit there and argue like junior high kids in the middle of some janky debate class. It's like, they want people to actually do their job, because Republicans are very much, we don't want our tax money going to stuff that's just a waste of money. A lot of them are, the ones that are educated enough to know what's going on, which, you have the same thing on the liberal side. There's people that don't really know what the hell is actually going on with anything. So both sides have people like that. But the people that have been paying attention, they actually understand that nothing's getting accomplished because nobody's willing to work together.
There's always a stalemate
And that
going on.
is coming from the Republican side. So they are voting out these Republicans that refuse to compromise, refuse to do anything.
They try to shut
refuse
down
to
the government.
refuse to vote yes on something, even if it would be amazing and great for everyone, simply because a Democrat wrote the bill. So, like they've been voting down all of the veteran bills, reform bills, like all of the bills to help veterans. They're supposedly for veterans, but because Democrats are writing those bills, which they're not writing bills because they're too busy writing bills to, overturn Obamacare or outlaw abortion and shit that they shouldn't even be doing. Like, it's just a total waste of time. And then a Democrat actually writes a bill that's worth a shit and would actually accomplish something for the country and actually aligns with these Republicans' views, but they vote no on it just because the Democrat wrote it. And we're not going to get anywhere with that childish behavior. And so, like I said, even Republicans are sick and tired of it and actually voting for Democratic candidates now because
Bernie Sanders.
they want shit to actually get done.
Yeah. It's crazy what he's done. He's really, literally started a revolution. Nothing like this has happened in modern politics. And the way that the message is spreading.
Again. It's like, if we screw this up, it's not going to come back around again in our lifetime.
Probably not. The what he's utilizing also with the internet is just amazing, because so many people like myself who've never voted before, who never even gave a crap because we thought that everything was a certain way. He's coming in here and he's showing us there's somebody out there who has the ability to make the change that we want. And a majority of people want this change in our country because a majority of us are hurting. We're hurting badly.
The media is getting a little bit scared because they've always had, control over how things are portrayed. But now with social media and people don't really watch the news. Like,
people watch YouTube a lot more now.
The news. Yeah, exactly. Like, I was watching the Young Turks last night.
Yeah.
They were dropping F-bombs left and right while they were reporting the caucus.
What the fuck?
Like, that's what I was watching. I wasn't watching CNN or Fox News or NBC or whatever. I was watching the Young Turks, and they were, feeling the burn the whole fucking time. And it's different. Like, we have other ways to get our news. We don't have like these 3 different channels to pick from that are all owned by the same network.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing. I mean, the media has basically ignored him the entire time, and he's still.
They tried really hard to ignore him, and it didn't work because of social media, because he got into social media and was interacting with millennials in a way that millennials can understand and have access to, and where we're at every day. And what a lot of millennials don't understand is that we outnumber the baby boomers. There's more of us than there are of them now. And for a long time, the baby boomers have outnumbered anybody. So yes, the baby boomers were in charge, and whatever the baby boomers wanted to happen is what happened because there were more of them. There's not more of them anymore. And so it's time for us to, like, they're dying off, they're old, they're not going to have to deal with the future that it's being created now. So it's up to us to get things fixed before it's beyond the point of being able to be fixed. And that's what people really need to take seriously that this year, is that yes, your vote does count. It is very important. Get your ass out there, do something, vote for someone. It doesn't matter who you vote for. Even if you go and vote for Donald Trump, please don't do that. But even if that's what you decide to do, go do it. Just be involved in some way. Don't sit on your butt and just be like, oh, it doesn't matter.
Now, speaking of being involved,
however,
we have a fan that has a proposal for a 4-branch government, to where the 3 branches that exist now would include also a 4th branch involving the public, and the public would have a full say over everything that the delegates in each branch would do. We're going to do more research into that. We're going to talk to him, maybe get him in an interview. Sounds like an interesting idea. Maybe if it spreads enough, we could incorporate it, hopefully, maybe. But we want to show how how the Iowa caucus decided what to do when there was a tie, because we think it's hilarious. So in the Iowa caucus, they decided when they received a tie that they would flip a coin. So they're leaving the democratic process to luck. Basically, we think it's a really stupid rule to have, but the people of Iowa, they don't really care. They're just like, this is how we do it. All right. So we're gonna show the video. Enjoy. This is Hardin Township in Johnson County, Iowa.
Because this, I'm gonna film it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. All right. My name is Mitch Thompson. I am the precinct chairman of Hardin Township in Johnson County, Iowa. We are vying for 1 delegate, and we have a tie at 29 and 29. We cannot resolve the vote. 30 is the viability number for the single delegate. So at this point, I will ask Senator Kevin Kenney to flip the coin. Please come observe. The front of the coin is Father of our country, George Washington. The back is the schoolhouse, which is the coin from the state of Iowa. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Eric Johnson, the Senator Sanders precinct chair, captain.
Julie Rarick. I'm precinct captain for Hillary Clinton.
All right. And we have the coin. And do you mind if ladies call it?
No.
All right.
Doesn't matter. 50-50.
Folks, we are about to flip the coin. The precinct chair or the captain for Hillary will call it in the air. Heads is George Washington. Tails is the little schoolhouse for the state coin of Iowa. Call it in the air.
No. Okay.
It is tails. The tie has been broken by coin flip, and we'll go to Bernie Sanders for the delegate. Thank you very much. It's the only way we could figure out how to do it.
the only way they could figure out how to do it. Like, really?
Yeah.
It's the
I don't
only
know why
way.
they couldn't just report a tie. Like, just give them half. Half
It's
and
not
half.
even.
Split
Yeah,
it
it's
in
not
half.
even a fucking vote. It's just like it's basically, from my understanding, it's a fucking pep rally. That's what this
Yeah.
is.
Like they're in a school gym or something right there. It's so
Yeah, really. I mean, voting happens in schools also, but
Well,
that's
yeah,
just
but
the
even
whole
then
process
it's done
is just
more maturely than that was done.
It's just so like you're.
So juvenile.
It's the president of the United States, and you're just flipping a coin about something. Like, why don't you let the delegates decide? The delegates are people, aren't they? So,
I don't know.
I don't even know.
Silly.
It's a ridiculous process, but they specifically have that in the Iowa rules, and I even saw in the comment, he's just like, that's just the way we do it. Just accept it, deal with it. It's just like,
How we do
okay,
shit in Iowa.
yeah. The guy had a killer mustache though. That was awesome.
My favorite part was how annoyed the Hillary Clinton person just seemed the whole entire time about
Yeah,
the
she's
whole.
like, oh my gosh.
Like, eh.
Yeah, that's.
She was
great.
just so crotchety. Like.
So
And
that's
the Bernie guy
America.
was just laid back and
Like,
like
ladies first.
Oh jeez.
That's a little touch of American politics for anybody who's outside of the states that wants to see how things are done in some areas of
You
America.
always think it's crazy the way we do things.
Well, you flip a coin. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it gets any crazier than that, or
That's
at
some
least any
Two-Face stuff.
sillier. Like it's just so ridiculous. Like I can't even believe that's the way it works. It's just so dumb.
That's how Harvey
But-
Dent decides if he's gonna hurt you or not. Like, come on. So yeah, we're gonna end this episode here. We hope everybody feels the burn.
Yeah, definitely feel the burn and come back next week. We will have an interview on Monday, and then on Tuesday we will be back.
More
So-
current events.
Keep an eye on our fan page, share things, like things, donate on the website, read our blog post, all that fun stuff. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe.
And you have a
And-
Teespring.
Yeah, I have a Teespring up right now, and each other is all we have. Shirt
Oh.
up, and I've relaunched my Patreon. So because I'm getting ready to move to Florida. Big crazy announcement, you guys. I will be moving to Florida, which means I'll have better internet. You'll be able to watch me in HD through my HD camera.
Unlike right now, where it doesn't look HD.
Yeah, because it's an HD camera, I promise. I just live in the middle of nowhere and I don't have good internet. So whenever I get moved to Florida, I'll have more time for you guys to work on things, and I'll have better video quality. So if you head over to our Facebook page or to my page, Connie, that atheist lady, you can get through to my Patreon page or to the Teespring, because all of that is going to go to helping me get to Florida and get settled in so that I can continue to do the show. Because, of course, if finances go to crap, I won't be able to be here with you guys. So.
Well, we also have a contest going to make a graphic for her quote, that's "Each other is all we have." Or... No, there's more to the quote than that, but it's on our
Each
Facebook
other's
page.
all we have, and if we keep on like this, we won't even have that. So go to our page. It's pinned on the page of the contest, and if you win, you will get to be featured in a blog post and be featured on the show. So
Fun
that's
stuff.
going to be pretty cool. So any of our artist peoples or just meme makers, whatever, it has to be your own original content. You can't just go find somebody else's meme and...
We'll know.
Yeah. We'll know.
I'll know.
We will know.
I've seen
We've
so
probably
many
seen
memes.
it before.
Yeah.
So yeah, make your own thing, make it good, make it awesome, and you have until the 14th to get those into us.
All right, thank you for watching. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.
All right, bye everybody.